Okay, thanks very much, Josh. Thanks very, very much for the opportunity to support this great group and this community and this event. You guys are very, very lucky. You've got a lot of great minds in this room that I saw earlier today. And the fact that this group exists. I spent most of my career before joining ESRI in Florida, and I was the treasurer of Florida chapter of WAURISA, and I kept trying to convince people that they needed a group just like this. And so the fact that you guys have it and pulled it off and do such great work, kudos to you. I've only seen one other state that has one of these. That's South Carolina, and they started up their group all by itself. So it wasn't under WAURISA, but it's the exact same thing as here. So, and I think it'd be wonderful if WAURISA took this nationwide and helped every state start one up. So I also want a disclaimer. I know that WAURISA is wants to be vendor neutral. I am from ESRI. Is everybody here an ESRI customer? Yes? Okay. So I am going to put a lot of ESRI stuff in here, okay? But I knew that everybody here is an ESRI customer. And actually, I don't know if you know this, but every single employee at ESRI gets paid by the hour. We don't get any commission at all. And I'm happy if my customers are just using what they own. And that's the point of this thing. And I'm going to use a lot of ESRI stuff as context, but we're going to focus on the leadership and the management part of it. So I just want to get that out there because this isn't a sales pitch at all. This is GIS for Leaders, 7 Elements of a Successful Enterprise, GIS, and this is interactive. So everybody pull out your phone or your tablet, and I want you to open up this presentation in your web browser. You can do it 2 ways. You can either shoot the QR code. If you have an iOS device, just open up your camera and it'll automatically recognize that it is a QR code and come up with the link. If you don't have an iOS device, I'm not sure about the QR code, but there's a URL over there. If everybody just real quickly open it up. What it'll do is open up this exact same presentation in your browser. Did it work? Yeah? Is it working? Okay. So you can swipe along with me then. Please don't go ahead and ruin the surprise. But the reason I'm doing this is because what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you guys questions, and you're going to answer them on the app, and we'll be able to see the results up here. And it'll really help us learn that you're not alone and that everybody has the same issues and whatnot, okay? Everybody get that up and running? Yeah? Okay. Then this presentation will not go away. So if you ever want to come back to it, you can come back to that URL, save it as a bookmark, whatever. And certain things, many things in here are hyperlinked to more information if you want to get more information from them. Can I go ahead and start? Yes? Okay. So I just want to go over the abstract for this. It takes more than technology for an enterprise GIS to be successful. It requires business and IT management skills. The session is going to review the 7 elements of a successful enterprise GIS and provide strategies how GIS managers can implement them. 7 elements are vision and leadership, understand how GIS can contribute to your organization's success, develop and maintain a GIS strategic plan, implement effective governance, implement evolutionary approaches or change management, deploy engaging apps, and recruit, develop, and maintain good staff. I created this entire presentation from this one slide that I saw Jack give at an ESRI event once. And as a community evangelist for ESRI, this is what I focus on. It's not on the technology, it's all in the business, culture, people, management side of GIS. And so I was able to create this whole presentation from that single slide. I also first did a blog post. So if you want to check out the blog post on LinkedIn, you go to my profile on LinkedIn, you can find it as one of my articles up there too. And that's actually hyperlinked to it. But I travel all across the country and I talk to customers all over the place. I focus on local and state government. And people always ask me, what makes people successful or an enterprise GIS successful? And it's always this stuff. It's not the technology. It's motivated people committed to managing change. So everybody here is very motivated and committed because I can tell by who's in, what kind of organization this is. Number 2, they're effectively applying the technology in a sustainable manner. Sustainable meaning not green, but sustainable meaning only writing code when you have to and when it makes business sense. Too often I would see GIS shops write code because they love to write code, and next thing you know, they're juggling these balls, trying to keep them up in the air, and they're on this treadmill just trying to keep their apps up and running, and they don't do anything else. So that decision of whether or not to write code is a business decision. It's not can we do it, it's should we do it. And so organizations that do it that way are much more effective. And then lastly, following best practices. ESRI's been doing this for a very long time. We actually know the best practices, the best way to set up our GIS for it to be successful. Yet, never, when I was an account manager, which I was for 9 years before becoming an evangelist, did I ever get anybody go, can you tell me all your best practices and I'll implement them? I had one customer do that. And I asked him, I about fell out of my chair because I was always getting battled. Oh, I know how to run GIS in my shop. I don't need your best practices. But he said, I want to know exactly what they are and we'll implement all of them. And I said, well, why is that? And he said, it's very easy, very simple. He said, if I set it up my way and it breaks and it doesn't work, it's my fault. If I set it up the way you tell me to do and it doesn't work, it's your fault. So he's smart. He's shifting the liability off himself. It's kind of a CYA kind of thing, right? But I'm telling you, not enough people know about our best practices and follow them. And then I had a great discussion with an assistant city manager once, and he told me, look, whether or not our GIS implementation is successful is not a technology problem, it's a people problem. And that's 100% correct. Every time there's GIS issues, almost all the time they are people issues. When it's successful, it's because of the people and the culture and a lot of other things. So before I get started, I wanted to show a short video of what I believe is one of the finest GIS groups I've ever seen in local government. Now, I'm biased. I'm from Florida. I worked with Pinellas County for 10 years as their account manager. So I am biased, but they have won just about every award out there. I'm not saying that they're the best out there. You guys are doing some incredible work out here. I'm really blown away by everything out here, but I do want to show you what Pinellas is all about. So I'm going to roll this short video. It's about 5 minutes.
Pinellas County is on the west central coast of Florida. We are the most densely populated county in Florida. We have 1 million residents. Within 276 square miles, we have 24 individual cities that we work with on a day-to-day basis. We have about 35 miles of coastline.
We're also unique because we are a peninsula within a peninsula. And so we are affected by things like sea level rise and global climate change more than many other communities.
We're surrounded almost completely by open water, Tampa Bay, Intercoastal Waterway, as well as the Gulf of Mexico. And you add that subtropical climate to all the water and all the development, and you have a flood problem.
A state of emergency today as Tropical Storm Colin hit the Panhandle hard, dumping over 7 inches of rain in Pinellas County.
During Tropical Storm Colin in 2016, we worked with our GIS team to develop a viewer. And the viewer basically mapped all of our work requests that came in during the storm. And it just gave us a better situation awareness. So we basically developed it on the fly and tweaked it during the storm. And then we prepped for doing the exact same thing before Hurricane Hermine hit.
During Hurricane Hermine, we were using the map apps to update the information that we were receiving. We were updating the road closures. We could see where our trucks were. Trees down were marked with a different symbology so that everybody using the map apps could see what was going on.
We could dispatch crews to locations that were next to our emergency response teams addressing another call. We knew exactly where everything was.
We've really kind of leveraged ArcGIS Collector for field data operations. The one in particular that I think has been probably the most successful is our sign inventory.
We started using Collector app to collect all the signs within Pinellas County. With the application, our staff is carrying around an iPad, and they go up to a sign, they take a photo of the front and the back and attach it to the point where the sign is and move on to the next sign. So this has really helped our county know what we have out there and what we need to have supplies for in case of a natural disaster.
We look at a holistic view of GIS, not just a view at each individual agency or constitutional. It enables us to look at enterprise GIS from a futuristic point of view of where, as a smart county, we want to go.
WebGIS, I think, is the next logical extension of making accessibility the standard for all of our citizens, whether they're using a mobile device, a desktop, or any flavor of browser. They need to be able to get to that information, and the ESRI tools, along with our web access and mobile access, really make that possible.
Everybody can just go to our wealth of information on the flood information website, including links to all these map applications.
You just type your address in and it takes you right to the lot, and it shows you what flood zone you're in. Is there an elevation certificate? Are there wetlands on my property?
A big component of floodplain management in the county is our community rating system. The community rating system is put out under the National Flood Insurance Program, and it rewards communities with flood insurance premium discounts based on how far above and beyond you are going than the federal requirements. And one of the major components of that is outreach and education. And these MAP applications are a very good way to relay that flood hazard message to your constituents. We're now saving over $5.2 million a year across unincorporated Pinellas County in flood insurance premiums. So all our residents, businesses, any county buildings, anybody that's in the floodplain is getting the biggest discount that you can get on an insurance premium.
The next 3 years I see as kind of a renaissance for enterprise GIS in the county, where we're not doing the things that we have to do in order to kind of build the foundation for enterprise GIS. We're going to be doing the things that the businesses want us to do.
Whether it's knowing where your infrastructure is throughout the county and making better planning decisions based on that, or being able to analyze socio-demographic trends and making strategic investments to lift everyone in the community, that is going to pay back for generations.
So, a couple of things. Number one, you saw Commissioner Kenneth Welch from the County Commission up there talking about the value of GIS, and more specifically WebGIS. So what Pinellas has done is they have incredible executive sponsorship. They have educated their elected officials to understand what GIS is and what value it brings to the county. They have also to every director. You saw the Public Works Director, you saw the Floodplain Coordinator. When we first started working with Pinellas County, they set up a 2-day workshop where ESRI was going to come in, and they invited every director of every department. They had the county administrator, et cetera, were all going to be at this, even some elected officials. And I thought to myself, there is no way that any of them are going to show up. Who wants to spend 2 days in GIS? Every single one of them was there for the entire 2 days. They are engaged, they get it, they understand it, and they know how to apply it to their business. And that's probably the number one reason why Pinellas is so successful, is that they have this buy-in from the top, all the way down actually. So here's the first question. Are your leaders aware of the more advanced capabilities of GIS? Yes, some or all of them are aware, or no, they think of GIS as map making. Usually this is the number one reason why GIS is underutilized in an organization, is because everybody thinks you make maps. They don't understand spatial analysis, they don't understand the value of it, and therefore they won't come to you and ask for anything. They want your help and they need your help, they just don't know it. So let's review the results here. So it's about 50-50 here. We've got, well, it's changing, but we can see here. So for those of you that are answering no, on your to-do list needs to be to start to educate executives and leaders and elected officials on what GIS is. The real reason GIS is here is not to make maps, but to do spatial analysis and to help them make better decisions and to be of value to them. You saw the Public Works Director from Pinellas County talk about the value of that dashboard. That dashboard was put together in 2 hours in the EOC in the middle of a storm response. He was telling the GIS guys in the EOC, this is what I need to see. They configured operations dashboard in 2 hours. He now uses that dashboard every day since then to run his operations. Do you think he understands the value of GIS? You're darn right he is. If they need more money, do you think he's going to pitch some in? Yes, he is. And he's going to ask, what else can you do to help me? So that's the kind of things you need to do. Do not underestimate the power of this technology. It can actually change an organization for the better, change the way you do business. Most organizations are set up like the diagram on the left here. They're hierarchical. They're very formal, very slow, very structured. Somebody at the top needs something, that request trickles down, somebody at the bottom does it, and then it trickles back up. GIS, specifically ArcGIS especially, is set up to run like this and networked so that you have WebGIS. So that if I'm the emergency management director and I know that we've got a big blizzard about to hit Tacoma, I should not have to pick up my phone or email or IM or walk down the hall and request a map that's going to show me what areas of the city are going to be hit worst. I should be able to pick up my phone or my tablet 24/7, 365, open an app, within 2 or 3 clicks, get the information I need to make my decision to move on about my day. That's the way GIS is set up to work. That's the way it can actually change your organization for the better. So hopefully you are implementing in this networked fashion and spreading the tools out to everybody rather than trying to funnel all the GIS work through the GIS professionals. So here's our next question. How does your organization use GIS? Do you use it in a hierarchical manner? Do you use it in a networked manner? Or do you use it in a combination of the two? Most answers should probably be in the combination of the two. Let's take a look. Okay, that was right. So we have a few here. The network manner, that is awesome. We have one in a hierarchical manner. So whoever that is, they need to start to put things more in a WebGIS form and pushing apps out to everybody in the organization. Okay, so back to the 7 elements. Here they are. I'm now going to go through each one. So the first one is vision and leadership. There's a difference between being a manager and being a leader. And I love the fact that your organization is called WGGL for leader and not manager. Because by definition, managers are averse to change. Because what's a manager's job? Keep the operation running smoothly and efficiently, right? Keep cranking it and get things out the door, right? So if you're going to introduce some new technology, it's going to screw everything up. I don't want to do that, right? I've got it going. We're doing okay. So we've got lots of GIS managers. We need more GIS leaders. And that's why this organization was set up, and that's great. So you got to take that manager hat off and put the leadership hat on that says, here's this great new technology. Yeah, it's going to screw things up for like 6 months while we implement it, but we need to do it because it's going to make a big impact on the business, and that's what we need to do to change and evolve. So you need to let everybody know the capabilities and benefits of GIS. They want your help. They need your help. They just don't know it. You need to document your vision, create and maintain a plan to realize that vision. And then it's your job to extract as much value as possible from your GIS investment. Everything I do when I work with customers, I take the viewpoint of the taxpayer. Because who's paying for you and the software and the hardware and the conferences and the training? The taxpayer, right? Every dollar they're paying for you, they better get $1 back or more, right? So therefore, you can't say, I don't have time to learn 3D GIS. No. You've got to make the time because 3D GIS is very important in cities and states and local governments, and there's lots of applications for it. You've got to make that time because they deserve the return on that investment. And you should actually be exceeding their expectations. I know I feel that way with City of Charlotte where a lot of my tax dollars go. So that type of thinking means you've got to have this vision and you've got to have leadership capabilities. So part of that is evangelizing the power of GIS. So I'm an evangelist. Everybody in here should be one. How many people, when you go to a party, people ask you what you do for a living, you say you make maps? Come on. All right? A lot of people do. We're part of the problem. So what you need to do is change your elevator pitch. It needs to be, I help people make better decisions through the power of location. You say that, especially in an elevator to an executive or an elected official, they'll say, tell me more, right? So, do you evangelize the power of GIS, yes or no? You should be doing this every day and telling people you don't make maps. Excellent. That's everybody. It's the first time I've seen that, so, woo! Awesome, awesome, yeah. Okay, so we're all evangelists in here, right? This difference between the manager and the leader, I kind of knew it already in the back of my head, but not until I read this article did it kind of come true. And I don't know if anybody here reads Harvard Business Review, but everybody in here should. It's amazing, the articles that come out of there. And you can set up an email and you'll get newsletters that'll have links to them. But this one talked about it. It said there were 3 main differences. Leaders create value, managers count value. Leaders create circles of influence, managers create circles of power. Leaders lead people, and managers manage work. And that's a great definition of the difference between a manager and a leader. And the other thing I've heard is that leaders make more leaders. They're great mentors, and they turn their staff into leaders as well. So that's the things that we need to focus on, and that's great, again, that this group is set up that way. And leadership isn't easy, and it doesn't come naturally. You need to have training in it. That's why that WAURISA Leadership Academy is so huge. That's GIS leadership training. There is generic leadership training as well, so you should at least get some or both of them. So part of this is understanding the value of GIS in your organization. So I want to know, do you document and publicize your GIS return on investment? This is one of the single most important things, and I think we as an industry have done a really poor job because everything we do brings value to the organization. But do we ever document that and tell people about it? Most people don't. We've got to do this. If you want to get more money, you've got to show how much money you're saving the organization. So we've got a bunch of people that said no, and some people said sometimes, and one person is saying yes. So this is one of the most important things you can do. Does everybody here know Wade Kloos? Yeah, you know Wade, yeah. So Wade, you should write this name down, Wade Kloos, Kloos.
I have his template
Okay. Okay, so Wade is awesome. Wade is an evangelist for GIS ROI. Wade used to work for ESRI. He now is, he's like a deputy CIO at Utah DNR. And he created this spreadsheet that Joanne's talking about that helps you track ROI. And if you look him up on LinkedIn, he's got a video presentation that he gave last year at Northwest GIS, and it was recorded in Bremerton. And he's got that video up there. So watch that video, and in that video there's a link to his spreadsheet, which you can download and fill out, and it'll calculate your ROI. So what Wade does is, part of his project management is every GIS project they do, they calculate the ROI for. They fill this out. So at the end of the year, he's got a stack of these saying, look at all the time and money I just saved the state of Utah. Do you think he gets increase to his budget? You're darn right he does. Okay? So you've got to calculate this, and you've got to tell people about it. Okay, you need to understand how GIS can contribute to your organization's success. You need to have a strategic plan, and you need to look at your organization's strategic plan. I heard somebody earlier when they had the panel talk about this, that your organization has a strategic plan and you align it to it. Was it you? Yes, that is so perfect and right on, because whoever's at the top, whatever they think is most important, should be exactly what you're working on. And I've seen where that's completely broken, where the elected officials wanted to go in one direction and the GIS people didn't care at all. And that was under direction of the CIO. CIO got fired from the organization because of it. Okay? It's like, look, if you don't care what I'm working on, then there's a problem. So whatever that is, whether there's initiatives, goals, objectives, policies, maybe they've got performance management with key performance indicators, maybe they want to be a smart community, whatever that is, crime, opioid epidemic, economic development, whatever that is, you've got to apply GIS to it. And then talk to leaders. And I heard somebody mention this before. If you're going to talk to leaders, ask them two things. Ask them what their vision is and what their pain is. They care about both of those, and they're happy to tell you all of that. Then all you need to do is learn their business a little bit and deploy solutions that get them closer to their vision and get rid of their pain. If you do that, they will go, okay, you're a valuable person, you're helping me, and they'll come back to you for more and more. And then make executives into GIS users, and you can do that with dashboards. Dashboards are some of the most impactful applications you should be deploying. Everybody in here should be deploying as many dashboards as you can. And don't wait for them to come to you. They won't. Just make a dashboard, put some data in it that you think they find valuable, and show it to them and give it to them. Say, here's the link. Open it up on your phone or your tablet. Anytime. I guarantee you they'll come back. Well, what else can you do, right? So just like Pinellas did with Public Works. So do you actively seek out executive sponsorship of GIS? This is one of the most important things that you need to set time aside for and constantly be out there and recruiting these executives. And you want as many of these as possible, because you don't want to hitch your wagon to one horse, because once that horse leaves the organization, you're back to square one. You want as many of these as possible. All right, most of you do. We have a few that do not, so you need to get out there and get some executive sponsors. Develop and maintain a GIS strategic plan. This was excellent. There was some great discussion about this earlier. Again, it needs to align with the organization's plan. It needs to align with the organization's IT plan. Develop a GIS maturity assessment. Some good discussion about that. Identify where there's room for expansion of services. See where you're not doing work. What department are you not working with, right? And then you simply prioritize, which we had a good discussion about that too. And then you execute phases, again, in a sustainable fashion, only writing code when you absolutely have to. So I'm preaching to the choir on a lot of this. But do you have and maintain a GIS strategic plan, yes or no? I'm thinking this is going to be different in this group, because most of it's 90% will say no. But we're at most yes. So those that have not, you have got to have a strategic plan. It's the only way. The stuff that happened at Pinellas doesn't happen by chance or by accident, or you just wake up and it's done. They had a very specific plan and then executed it. So I gave a talk like this a few years ago at the user conference in San Diego, and a gentleman came up to me afterwards from South Australia, and he said, well, I'm doing all of that stuff. And I said, I don't believe it. And he said, no, really? And he pulled out his iPad. He's like, here's my strategic plan, and here's all the apps, and da-da-da-da. And I was like, holy smokes, you're right. You're a rock star. You need to be on the stage. So I got him to present the next year. And he also wrote an article from this presentation that's hyperlinked to this. But this was his executive summary of his GIS strategic plan. And I love this because it's elegant, it's very brief, and it's easy to understand. And if every organization that uses GIS, no matter what they do, did these 4 things, it would be incredible. So he says, we're here to coordinate. I'm here to facilitate collaboration. I'm here to help the organization work better together. I'm here to simplify and improve business practices. I'm here to make the business more efficient, more effective. I'm here to innovate. I'm going to create smarter new service offerings. And then lastly, I'm here to enable informed decision makers. Go back to my example of the emergency management director, ability to just open up an app, make a few clicks, make a decision, and move on about their day. That's a great way of focus for any GIS to have. So on the innovation side, R&D. If you say, I'll innovate and I'll do R&D when I have time, it'll never happen. You have got to dedicate time to it. If it's every Friday from 1 to 5, I'm going to unplug my phone and shut Outlook down, and I'm just going to do R&D, that's great. If you don't do that, it's not going to happen, and you should be doing that. So again, you guys are not normal. These answers are great. Normally it's opposite. You're not normal in a great way. So we only have a few down here that need to do some R&D. I'm talking to the stars here. Okay, so I'm not saying what I'm about to show you is a strategic plan. I'm just saying most of the people I worked with in my accounts, none of them had strategic plans. They didn't have the time to do them. They didn't have the money to do them. They didn't know how to. So I had to come up with a quick and easy way to at least get them to start thinking strategically, and this is what it is. So ArcGIS can support these 9 patterns in any business, doesn't matter what they do. We can do mapping and visualization, we can do data management, field mobility, we can monitor real-time systems, we can do analytics, we can help with designs and plannings, we can do decision support, we can engage the community, and we can do sharing and collaboration. So if ArcGIS can do all of these, to have a super effective enterprise GIS, I should be deploying apps in all 9 patterns in all my departments. So how can you do that? You can go to Excel and you can make a matrix where every column is a pattern and every row is a department. And then you can sit back in a couple of hours and think, am I doing that? Am I doing decision support for Health and Human Services? And then you simply color the box. Green, yes, I'm doing it. Yellow, I'm kind of doing it. And red, I'm not doing it at all. So you do this in 2 hours, and then now you've got a very quick and dirty maturity assessment of where you're doing well and where you need to be. So I need to turn all these boxes green, right? So all I have to do now is prioritize and start flipping these boxes, right? What's interesting about this is most organizations will have a lot of green over here and a lot of yellow and red over here. Your executives and your elected officials and all that, they are focused over here. They don't care about that. Right? GIS is all focused over here. This is the word technology. This is our home, right? This is the foundation. But if you want to get people's attention, focus on these boxes. This is what they're looking for, right? Then when it comes to prioritize, I heard a lot of people talking about prioritization, and you guys kind of said this in your thing, but it's important to look at this from a challenges versus benefit. So if it's a low challenge and high benefit, oh yeah, we're going to do that all day long, right? If it's a low challenge but low benefit, we can experiment over there. If it's high challenge and high benefit, high benefit, yeah, and high challenge, we can cautiously embrace. But if it's low benefit and high challenge, stay away from it, okay? So definitely stay in your sweet spots there. And then how do you turn those boxes green? I want you to turn those boxes green without writing code unless you absolutely have to, right? So that means using our apps off the shelf. We've got a ton of apps. You've got access to them. Please use them. We've got them broken down by apps for the field, the office, community, app builders. We've got a great set of solutions, a whole bunch set for state and local government, right? A park finder, a fire hydrant inspector. We've got 450 plus of these apps. So too often I see people in muscle memory. I love to write code, right? We need a fire hydrant inspector app. Let's go write it. No. Go up here. This is your app store. These are free, right? They're open source. You have the access to code. They're supported by tech support. When we come out with a new version that breaks all your apps, we'll have a new version here that you can just slide your data right into. These can be deployed in minutes using the solution deployment tool in ArcGIS Pro. You could literally take our 9 solutions I think we have for mosquito control, deploy them in about 5 minutes, pump your data into them, and then you're ready to roll in a half an hour. I mean, it will revolutionize the way you work. This group is very passionate about their work. They don't create these solutions in a black box. We actually work with real customers, find out their needs, distill that down into apps, and then post them up here. So they want your feedback. If you see an app that's missing, let us know. If you see things you need added to the app, let us know. They're very, very engaging with the community. So please own these and use. Now, there's 450 more than that Don't spend your hours crawling through the website trying to find the right one. Just call your ESRI account team. That's their job to know all 450. Say, hey man, I'm looking for an app that does X, Y, Z. Do you have it? They'll check it and get back to you, and they'll probably help you implement it. There's a poster that lists all of them. If you want that poster, you can get that from your account team as well. So have you deployed any of our ArcGIS solutions off the site? This is the ArcGIS for state government, ArcGIS for local government, or et cetera. We've got a whole slew of them. Hopefully you have. That's excellent too. I don't normally see these answers either. That's great. So a lot of you know about them. Those that haven't, definitely look into these solutions. They're really wonderful. Open data, heard a lot of talk about open data. Too many organizations go out and buy an open data solution without knowing that they already own one, because the GIS people are just so working on their GIS stuff, they're not worried about other things. If you hear people in your organization talking about open data, say, hey, we already own one. Check it out first, right? And you can get really make some pretty cool open data sites. I love highlighting this one. This is from Johns Creek, Georgia. There's a town of about 84,000 outside of Atlanta. Nick O'Day, who runs the GIS group, and now he's actually Chief Data Officer. He's very innovative. He does a lot of crazy cool stuff. This is his site, what he's done with it, and he's got dashboards open to the public here. So if you come up here to their data hub, you'll see this one is showing fire incidents across the city. This one is showing business licensing. This one's showing work orders. And this one's showing building permits. So really great stuff. And dashboards you can configure in a few minutes. By the way, Johns Creek GIS department, 2 people. Right? So if Johns Creek can do this stuff, then anybody can do it. So if you deployed ArcGIS Open Data, it's actually very easy to deploy. The hard part is getting the metadata, which I heard a lot of people talk about metadata earlier. But if you have the metadata, you simply start a group, check it as an open data group, put the data in that group, and then you configure your site. And you can configure the site without writing any code. All right, so a bunch of no's. So I would look into this. Again, it's pretty easy to set up. It's much better than the old FTP sites with zip files on them. Then our step above the open data is our hub product. Here's an example of a real one. This is from Loudoun County, Virginia, a suburb of Washington, D.C. And here you see open data, but to me, there's open data like I check the box. I'm doing open data where if you want my bus stops, you can go up there and find my layer of bus stops, right? What percentage of the public knows what to do with a shapefile of bus stops? Maybe like 0.1%, right? So what is the true value of that open data? Like, you might as well not even do it. This is real actionable open data, right? Because what this does is Loudoun County went to their county commissioners and they said, what's important to you and what's important to our citizens? And they said, these 6 initiatives is what's important to Loudoun County. Enjoying the quality of life there, improving the transportation network, building the future, serving the community, protecting the citizens, and then helping businesses succeed in Loudoun County. So this is a very different view of open data. So if I click on the Improving Transportation button, I get taken to a whole new site. Now I've got apps powered by open data, but makes sense to me as a citizen. Look, I can find my bus stop. I can explore the transit system. I can look at the bus times. I can see how they're integrating with Waze to give me more information about what's happening out there on the roads right now. And then I can look at all the construction projects that are going on around the county. Do you see the difference here? I mean, I could just put my projects up there in a layer, but this is much more accessible, makes much more sense to a citizen. So definitely look to expand on your open data. And you could do this through the hub, which is, again, it grew out of our open data product. And so if you don't know about hub, definitely investigate it. It can really help with the citizen engagement. I love dashboards. This one, people say all the time, well, executives won't use GIS. Well, that's because you're not giving them the right app. Because again, they're not going to come to you and ask for it. You just got to do it. This is a great example. This is an app that's used by the governor of Arizona every day. And what this is a story map, and each tab is a different dashboard. And this is feeding him information about emergencies all across Arizona, no matter what the emergency is. So the first tab here, that's just a briefing. If they've got a briefing for him in a dashboard form, they can look at that. He's got one on the migration caravan, weather-related, firefighting-related, you name it. He can just hit the tab, see what's happening. All of this is set up to give him as much information as quickly as possible so he can move on with his day. So have you deployed any ArcGIS dashboards, yes or no? Again, super easy, configurable, no code writing. If you've got the data, they're pretty easy to throw together. Ooh, we got a bunch of no's here, okay. So definitely need to look in the dashboards and deploying them. Again, don't wait for them to come to you, just create one and then see where it goes from there. Now the next thing is if you're going to raise your game, you need to upgrade your infrastructure. Too often I would have GIS managers fight me on why can't I run my GIS off of three servers. And if you're going to throw apps out to the public and to all the staff, and especially to executives and elected officials, the last thing you want is that app to run slow or to fall down and not work at all. That's worse than deploying that app altogether. So you definitely, as you deploy technology, need to make sure your infrastructure can handle it, that it's designed to handle a certain amount of stuff. And if not, as you roll things out, you should be designing this infrastructure with an ArcGIS or with a GIS system design so that you know exactly how much I can handle and how much I can't. By the way, this is the Pinellas County GIS system. This is 53 servers. Okay, you think that's a lot? Guess what? This is old. They just deployed CityWorks across 4 departments. They added another 45. They're up to 98 servers. Okay, you want to talk enterprise GIS? That is enterprise GIS. That county runs on GIS. That county cannot function without it. And they design it, best practices, and that thing hums, right? I will tell you that during Hurricane Irma that came through, this went down because they had an app that went viral, right? They were getting hit hard and they had their evacuation and their shelter app on this. And you have 1 million people that live in Pinellas County, so they were all hitting it. You had all the press hitting it, and you had all those 1 million people's families all hitting it, right? So in the middle of the storm, we had to help them move that app up to the cloud, right? So that will tell you, don't ever put an app up that might go viral, whether it's around an election, some big event you're happening, or whatever, disaster stuff, put it straight in the cloud. But don't be afraid of this, because this should be your target. This should be your dream, your vision for GIS at your city or county. It should be just like financials and email. There should be lots of servers, and that's okay. This costs several $100,000s a year. But you heard in the video, Pinellas County is getting $5.2 million a year on one app that they deployed. You get that kind of ROI, and you get that kind of buy-in, and this is the kind of investment you get. Okay, so do you have and maintain a GIS architecture design? Well, I shouldn't hide them. Let's let people vote, and then you can see. Because you should have this architecture design and then know the limits of it and test it, et cetera. Okay, a lot of people here said yes. This is usually a big no. Got a few people that didn't. Effective governance is very, very critical to being successful. You can build things into your governance that almost makes it fail-proof, makes your GIS fail-proof. And Pinellas County did a very good job at creating their governance. And governance is like metadata. Nobody wants to talk about it or do it, right? It's boring, but it can really create a really bulletproof GIS. And I think if the entire Pinellas County GIS staff walked out the door today and they hired all new people tomorrow, nothing would change because this governance has it almost locked in. So first thing is they didn't want the process to get in the way of progress. You want some structure, but you don't want so much structure that you can't get anything done. You must obtain and cultivate executive sponsorship. They do that through their GIS steering committee. So they have a GIS steering committee. That's not unusual. Theirs is full of directors and elected officials. It's pretty formal. It has a chair and a vice chair, and they serve terms, et cetera, and they meet, I think, quarterly or monthly. What does that do? That creates executive sponsors because it's constantly cycling in these executives and elected officials, and they get to sit in a room and hear about all the wonderful things that GIS is doing for the county. So that's one thing it does. Then there's 2 things that they do that I've never seen before. Number one is Pinellas got burnt badly by going way custom, not in GIS, in a different system. And it got so bad, it cost them lots of money and time, and it was bad. So they have a whole mindset that we are not writing code unless we absolutely have to. So if you want a custom app at Pinellas, you have to go in front of the steering committee and you have to pitch your reason why, show a total cost of ownership analysis, you have to prove the fact, and if they like it, they'll let you do it. If they don't, you don't get to do it. That's the level of where that decision should be made. And then the next one, we talked a lot about prioritization in here. They set the prioritization. So they actually have a SharePoint site, and all the projects go into this SharePoint site. and then it goes in front of the steering committee, and the steering committee figures out which ones are the most important to the business of the county. Like you guys were talking, your 911s, your public safety go to the top, and then so forth and on down. And then nobody can argue with that prioritization, right? The GIS team doesn't get caught in the middle. So that link, that will take you to the Pinellas County governance site. All their governance is up there, how it's set up, their meeting agendas, everything if you want more information. So do you have formal GIS governance in place? Now, it's not easy to put in place, but... you don't have a maybe up there. No, I don't. You should know yes or no. It should be a yes or no, right? Right? It's not black or white. All right, so a lot of people need help with some governance. Again, this is a struggle to put this stuff in place, but it can really help. Implementing evolutionary approaches, change management. When I talk about change management, I'm not just talking about software change management. I'm talking about organizational change management. So every human, by the nature of us, is averse to change. We don't like to change, right? So many organizations are starting change management programs to help people accept change, understand change, and this is why you need to do it, because it's good for the organization. So this is more than software. See if your organization has a change management program. If so, find out about it and see how you can get involved in it. If not, might see how you can implement one with GIS. Now I am going to do a pitch here. Is ESRI has just started up a change management group. So if you want to talk to somebody that specifically knows how to implement change management for GIS, we have people that can do that. But in the meantime, on the software side, number one, you need to embrace change and make it part of your routine. Try to get rid of that being averse to change. Accept it, make it part of your routine, be excited about it. You can also participate in this by participating in our early adopter community and our developer program. The early adopter community, you'll get beta software. So you'll get to kick the tires and drive the stuff around the block before it gets released. You'll give us feedback on that. But that way, when it's released, you already know whether or not you can use it and what the new things coming out, etc. On the developer side, even if you're not a developer, it's good to be in this program because you can have access to just about every piece of software we make, so that you can actually try them out before you ask to purchase one or what have you. Make R&D part of everybody's work. Everybody from the technician all the way up should do some sort of R&D. And then again, investigate the latest improvements and make plans to use them. Too often a new version of ArcGIS comes out, people upgrade, but they never investigate, hey, what's new in that new version? Can we take advantage of it? So do you participate in the early adopter and or developer program? Yes or no? There's no maybe here. Okay, a lot of no's here. Okay, so might look into doing that. And then do you have and maintain a change management plan? This is probably usually all no's, but that's okay. I just want you to get it in your head that change management is a big deal. Industries or organizations across the globe in every industry are starting to implement these because the actual research on, people talked about how IT projects a lot of times fail. You implement change management and that failure rate goes way down. Like the research totally supports this. So change management is a big fat deal and it can be very, very impactful in an organization. You need to deploy engaging apps. People want to use apps like those that are on their smartphones and tablets. When you download an app on your phone, do you watch a video, take a class, read a book? No, right? I try to use it in about 30 seconds. If I can't figure it out, I never use it. That's people's expectations now at work. So you've got to have the same kind of apps. They need to be focused and intuitive. They need to work on any device, anywhere, anytime. Focus on business drivers, not technology. Too often I see GIS people get hung up here. All this cool technology, and I want to do it for this reason. And it's no, it's everything we do should be about the business. How are we helping the business? How are we helping the business get more revenue? How are we helping them be more efficient? How are we helping them deliver new services? That's what it is, not the technology. So your goal is to give everybody alternatives. That means your apps should be responsive, so they work on any device. You need to keep them in a known, controlled, and secure environment. That means identity. That means login and password. And then you need to use the latest and most authoritative data. That means live web services. If I make a web map tied to a live web service, I never need to make that map again. And it's available on any device, and it's always up to date. That's what it's all about. And you've got to be able to have it secure. Right? And too often I would talk to a customer and I'd show them this great technology for, let's say, fire inspections. And they'd be like, our inspectors are not going to use that because they have to use a computer or a phone and they'd have to log in. And I have no patience for that attitude. Because again, always look at it from the taxpayer standpoint. You're telling me this person whose job is to inspect these for fire safety, we're handing them technology that's going to make them more efficient and more accountable and execute their job in a better manner, and they're not going to use it because they don't feel like logging in? I'm sorry. I mean, you're putting yourself above the organization and the community. And it's like, but you will run into that, right? I mean, we've all run into that, right? You know how you get around it? Go talk to who's in charge of IT security. They love passwords, right? Right? Talk to the director. Show them the ROI of what these guys should be doing. You might run into some union things. I understand that too. But to me, putting someone's self above what their job is and what the community needs are is not okay. All right? You know, we'll find another inspector that will use it. A great way to get started in making more of an impact in an organization is field operations. There's actually 5 phases to field operations. You plan it because field operations are dangerous and they're expensive. So you want to make sure you're prioritizing and doing the right work in the right way. You need to coordinate it. I have a dispatcher who needs to get the work out to the people in the field. They need to navigate to get there, then they capture it, and then you've always got somebody that wants to monitor it back in the office. Most of our customers have implemented only the capture phase. So you want a quick and easy place to get started here. Start to do these other 4. And really, you can bring this as easy ROI to people because this saves time, money, gas, carbon emissions, you name it. This can make a big impact very quickly, very inexpensively on your end. So look to do that. You've got to recruit, develop, and maintain good staff. Create and maintain a workforce development plan. I remember people were talking earlier in the panel about getting training dollars. And we see a lot of GIS managers say to their boss, can I get 10 grand for training? And they would say no. All right? But if you get a workforce development plan, what that does is that looks at everybody in your organization that uses GIS. It looks at their roles and responsibilities and how they use it. It then maps our courses directly to those roles and responsibilities. So it says, this guy's Fred, this is what he does, this is the stuff he needs, okay, in this order. You have that plan and you ask for money, it's much more likely to get funded. ESRI will create that plan for you at no cost to you from one of our training consultants. You need IT management and business skills. How many people in here have geography degrees like me, right? And next thing you know, you're running an IT enterprise management system. You don't have any business skills. You don't have any IT management skills, right? It's like you drew the short stick, right? Well, that's what happens, right? I'm with you. So you've got to get those things. People say, oh, I want to go get a master's in GIS. I'm like, dude, go get an MBA. It's seriously much more applicable. So you need to work on that. Get some business skills, get some IT management skills, and then get help. Nobody can do everything and knows everything. And all the successful GISs I see, they always get help, whether it's ESRI, our partners, or both of us, because we work well as a triangle. So do you have and maintain a workforce development plan, yes or no? Probably a lot of no's here. If so, get with your ESRI account team, get in touch with your training consultant, and they can help you put a plan together. I want to make sure you're aware of all the resources we bring, because a lot of these you might not know about. You've got your account team. You should know them very well. We have a whole collection of subject matter experts that know every industry. So let's say you have a bunch of those red squares in Public Works, and you want to go talk to Public Works, but you don't know Public Works, you don't speak Public Works, they don't know GIS. You need to bridge that communication gap. You can call ESRI. We've got a Public Works expert that knows that industry for 20 years, and they can totally bridge that communication gap. They can give examples of other cities and counties, same size, how they're doing it, etc. Please use us in that way. I talked about the training consultant, the workforce development plan. We have award-winning technical support, some of the best in the industry. We have premium support at a cost, 24/7, 365 support. If you have operations that work 24/7, 365, like utilities and law enforcement, you should check into that. We have a professional services group. We have an EAP program that wraps training, support, and services all together. You also get a designated technical advisor. They'll create a strategic plan for you every year, and then you use the resources of that plan to execute that. Some of our most successful customers have that. Pinellas does, and they usually always renew it. We've got great partners. They can earn specialties like ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS for local government. If you need help in those areas, look for partners that have those specialties because they'll have a leg up on the others. And then check out the marketplace. That's where our partners peddle their wares and stuff. So there's a lot of great help out there. Do you regularly get external assistance with implementing your GIS? Yes or no? Everybody should. Okay, good. That's good. Most of you do. All right, now your internal team. You got to have executive champions like I talked about. Your IT leadership should be totally on board. They should understand GIS. They should be a big supporter of you. Some notes here. We have some amazing events that can help with this. I've seen people struggle to get an executive champion or to get their IT leadership to understand GIS for like 10 years. Then you get them to one of our events, and it's like flipping a switch. It changes everything. I don't know why, but it does. So you can take executives. We have a thing called our Senior Executive Seminar the Sunday before our user conference out in San Diego. It's intended for top level. Your county administrator, your city manager, your mayor, your county commissioner, elected officials, whatever. It's specifically for them. If you can get them out there to that, it can really change things. We also have a public sector CIO summit in Redlands every year. It was just about a month ago. It's 2 days. They'll be able to network with other cities, counties, state agencies across the country. Incredible event that can really move a CIO in the right direction. Enable collaboration and empower others to use GIS. Opening up and giving people access to the tools really raises your value in the organization. Have the mindset of a GIS consulting firm. This is what Brian does at Pinellas. He thinks of himself as a firm, and all the departments are his customers. He wants more customers. He wants happy customers. He wants a profit. That's your ROI. Market spatial analysis. That's why GIS is here. That's the biggest ROI it can bring. Help people understand that value. You can do this easily. When people ask for a map, say, why do you need that map? And if you probe enough, I guarantee you, if they need a map, they also need spatial analysis help. And then measure, document, and publicize your impact, your ROI. This is a shot of Wade's spreadsheet that I talked about. Everybody should know this document. I believe this is the most important document ESRI's ever produced. It's our white paper on best practices. We update it at least once a year. It's free, it's short, you can understand it. It's not too techy, but it will introduce concepts of our best practices that you should be familiar with and that you should definitely implement. We also have an area on GeoNet called Implementing ArcGIS that has all kinds of great content like what I'm talking about here, strategy and planning and other things. We will also have an Implementing ArcGIS area at the user conference, a whole area dedicated to this. I run a Managers in GIS LinkedIn group. I would love for everybody here to join that. Oh, here's the events I talked about, public sector. We've got the Dev Summit. We've got our user conference. For those of you going to the user conference, I run a GIS Managers Open Summit all day Tuesday of the UC. It's free. You still have to register because we have limited spots. We usually get about 200 to 300 people in there. It's interactive. It's like this. You'll see presentations. There'll be group discussions. There's lots of networking. It's a pretty valuable event. ESRI does meetups online. It depends on what, they've got them for everything. And whether it's emergency management or land records or local government, you can sign up for those. They're all recorded if you can't make them. Great way to keep up to date on what we're doing. I run a series of GIS manager workshops, and then again, your ESRI account team. So have you read that document, yes or no? Everybody should have. Ooh, okay, we got quite a few yeses. Okay, the rest of you need to have some homework there. Then my next question to you, and this I really need impact on, is do you want more GIS management content like this from ESRI? I'm trying to do it, and I need proof to tell the people up above that yes, this is valuable. So give me a yes or no here for that, and that will help. So that's data, real data I can pass on. So thank you. Thank you. Yes, you did. And on that note, last year at the user conference, I put on for the first time a GIS manager track. And we looked at all of these business types of things. In fact, this was Wade doing his ROI thing, a different version of it. They're all got recorded and they're all on YouTube. And here's this, and it is hyperlinked in your app there. Go up, and if you want, each one of them is 45 minutes to an hour. If you view these and then spread the word, I've heard that if we get enough views, ESRI training will actually start to do some classes in these areas. Okay, so spread the word. So you've got a huge opportunity in front of you. You guys know what this technology can do. Again, thanks very much for your time. There's my contact info. I'm very active on GeoNet, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And again, great, amazing organization you guys have here. Kudos to you guys and the dedication you have. So I'll be happy to take any questions. No? Okay, so you have access to the slides. They're not going to go away. I will clear out the results because I give this over and over again. But thanks very much for your time.